Okay. All right, I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee meeting for October to order. Motion to approve the minutes of September.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here for privilege of the floor? Anyone here for privilege of the floor? Okay, not seeing anyone, we'll close privilege of the floor. I'll entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to allow the chairman to take some of the agenda out of order.
Thanks, Bob. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, with that, we'll start with the District Attorney's Office. Okay, we'll go to proposed resolution number 2, authorize acceptance of 2023-2024 aid to prosecution funds. Just you, Maddie?
Yep, just me today.
Okay.
Good afternoon, committee. Madeline Contaguglia for the District Attorney's Office. So the resolution I have for you today is to authorize the acceptance of the aid to prosecution grant funds from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services. For this year, we've received quite a bit more than we have previously. The total award amount was $640,536 to be used from the period of April 1st, 2023 to March 31st of 2024. The funds are to be utilized to offset the expenses incurred by the District Attorney's Office during the performance period related to the prosecution of felony crimes, particularly violent felony crimes. The award is more than we had budgeted for the 2023 adopted budget, so we are proposing to increase our revenue to by $439,557, and to decrease the use of fund balance by that same amount. The amount that is included for 2024, the portion of it that crosses into 2024 has been included in our 2024 tentative budget that was presented to you.
Okay. It's a pretty good sized grant.
It is.
Yeah.
It's much more than we had previously received in the past.
Okay, well, good for you guys.
Yeah.
Committee, questions on this one? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Maddie,
Thank you.
That was quick. Okay, next we'll take resolution number 8, authorize acceptance of the Indigent Legal Services 4th Upstate Quality Improvement and Caseload Reduction Grant for the period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. Derek?
Good afternoon. Derek Gregory for the Public Defender's Office, Assistant Public Defender. So I'm appearing before the committee to request authorization to accept the 4th Upstate Quality Improvement and Caseload Reduction Grant for the period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. A couple of months ago, our office appeared before the committee for the 3rd Upstate Quality Improvement and Caseload Reduction Grant. This grant is a continuation of funding for the 3rd Upstate grant, which covered the period of July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2023. The grant is for $300,000. We're going to receive $50,000 of the grant this year. That was anticipated funds, so the unassigned fund balance will be credited with the $50,000, or the revenue will be for our office will be credited with $50,000, and we would decrease the use of the unassigned fund balance, $50,000. And then the $100,000 that we receive next year is already included in the 2024 budget. There's no matching funds for this grant. It's a continuation of the funding we are receiving to pay for the salary and fringe for one assistant public defender.
Okay, Derek, thank you. Committee questions of Derek? Derek, I just have one comment. I know Ned had a statement he wanted you to read. Thank you for not reading that. You probably saved us a half hour.
Thank you, Chairman.
I'm just kidding. Okay, anything else of Derek? Okay, Derek, committee, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Derek, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, we'll go back to the regular agenda. Number 1, proposed resolution, authorize execution of New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee grant for the Police Traffic Services Program fiscal year 2024. Rich?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Rich Telford, Chautauqua County Undersheriff. I also have Riley Enlow, our fiscal supervisor here, in case I get into trouble. Or let me rephrase that, when I get into trouble.
Yeah, I don't think you will, but go ahead, Rich, anyway.
Our first resolution is acceptance of New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Grant in the amount of $20,700. This is a recurring grant for traffic safety, also known as click-it or ticket enforcement. Typically, that money is used for details for our deputies to go out and enforce high traffic areas, aggressive driving, and seatbelt enforcement. There is no local match on this grant.
Gotcha. Committee questions of Rich on this one? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, Rich, proposed resolution number 3, amend 2023 budget for Office of the Sheriff.
Okay, this is a increase for our contractuals in our public safety communication account, and increasing our revenues from wireless 911 to cover some contractual costs that we were over. This should cover our overages between now and the end of the year, and this is a budget neutral resolution.
Rich, the surcharge pays for the appropriations?
That is correct,
The
yes.
Expenses?
I believe it's 35 cents on every cell phone bill.
I'm not sure, but
It's on your cell phone bill, trust me.
I'll check it next time.
But yes, that is covered by the wireless surcharge collected by New York State, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, committee questions on this one? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, next, amend 2023 budget for Office of the Sheriff's Dispatch.
This is an increase of $4,200 under our contractuals in public safety communications in our dispatch center, and also an increase of $4,200 for our alarms law collection that we collect locally. Again, they offset each other and should cover us through the end of the year, and is a budget neutral resolution.
Okay. Folks, questions on this one? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, next, amend 2023 budget for Office of the Sheriff for School Resource Officer contract with Panama Central School.
So this is a little bit different. We were in front of you, I believe, 2 or 3 months ago, looking for a contract with Panama Central School on a school resource officer. At the time, we were planning on adding an SRO at Panama, but we also were looking at losing another SRO contract, so we didn't have to do a budget amendment. Long story short, we were able to fill all of the SRO positions, so we need to increase our revenue in the amount of $30,144. That covers the contract with Panama between now and December 31st. At the time that we proposed the contract, we did not do a budget resolution because we were losing the other SRO position.
Rich, offhand, which SRO position did we lose? Do you know what school?
We were looking to lose one of our agreements with BOCES.
Okay.
But through some personnel moves and decisions, we were able to fill that. So
Oh, okay.
we do have all of our SRO positions filled at this point.
Good, excellent. Okay, committees, question on this resolution?
Just, is there any other looming or pending SROs?
The only one that has been in discussion is Clymer Central School invited the sheriff recently for a discussion. There has not been any request or contract at this point. And honestly, we're to the point right now that if Clymer or any other school asks at this point, we are probably going to have to put them on hold until we're able to hire a few more positions.
And this is a voluntary thing too, isn't it, Rich? I mean, you asked for volunteers to be the resource resource officers there.
Typically volunteer, sometimes take some coercion on the sheriff or my part.
Persuasion.
Persuasion, discussion.
Okay.
The reason being is the SRO position is the type of position that we don't feel should be forced upon somebody that doesn't want to do it.
Understood. I agree completely.
If we feel if we force a deputy in a position they don't want, it's not going to be productive, and it's not going to be, and that's where we were looking at maybe losing the one of the BOCES positions. But like I said, we did a little discussion and coercion, and we ended up getting a volunteer, and he's been there about a month now, and so far so good.
So if we get Clymer, do you have anybody else that would volunteer for that, or you'd have to hire somebody else to try to place in Clymer?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Committee, questions on this?
Just a comment, the SROs I've worked with at Bruceburg
Mhm.
have been dynamite, they've been great, they've been a good fit, but I know what you mean, they have to really want to be there, and it's like, becoming a part teacher, part counselor, and, you're doing wearing a lot of hats.
Yes.
You gotta be the right person.
And we agree with that, because even if we had a couple volunteers that we don't feel would be a good fit for that school, we would be hesitant to fill that position. I always, not to beat it, I always go back to the key word, and that is resource. It's some people think it's just for safety and security. Others think that we're there to go arrest kids all the time, and it's so far from that. We have very few arrests. Knock on wood, we hope we never have to use them as security, but it's to interact with the kids, it's to teach them, it's to have another person they can talk to, or have the teachers talk to, or like you said, counselor, so knock on wood, it has worked out very well for us in the schools.
It's a great program.
Committee, anything else? Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Rich and Riley, thank you.
She did wonderful, as always.
We'll have some questions for you next time. I guarantee it.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks, guys. Okay, other will drop down to after the discussion on the EMS billing. At this time, we'll go to late resolution, Emergency Services 2023 Budget Amendment. We got enough seats for everybody?
Oh, yeah, we're good.
I brought helpers.
Brought back up.
I don't blame you. Okay, folks, Emergency Services 2023 Budget Amendment.
So Noel Gutman, Director of Emergency Services.
Bonnie Peters, Principal Account Clerk, Emergency Services.
Tim Carlson, Senior Paramedic with County EMS.
Our resolution request today is we received a grant for our tech rescue. When we added that into our budget, we put money into our .4 contractuals. We are at the ending of spending that money and have realized we needed in equipment instead. So this just moves money out of our contractuals into our equipment for tech rescue.
And this was a 100% grant we received.
And this is within your budget, it's just a transfer from the .4 to the .2.
Correct.
Exactly.
Budget neutral, Bonnie. Come on.
Budget neutral.
Budget neutral.
She said that at the budget hearings quite a bit. Okay, committee, any questions of, on this one here? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, next, discussion, EMS billing. Go ahead, folks. Where do we stand?
So we've had, several departments want to work with us, which is in the process. Senior Medic Carlson here today, I've kind of appointed him as really the point man from our office to be on top of all the billing issues. So I'm going to let him do a lot of the talking here in a minute. But we are, moving forward, on a lot of this stuff, and I'm going to let Tim kind of help fill in the holes here.
So we've got about 13 or 14 contracts that are executed for billing, and that is for both paramedic intercepts and agencies that are coming under us, kind of what I call the umbrella agreement. We've got meetings scheduled with some agencies that are coming under us with that umbrella agreement. Next week, we've onboarded a few of those departments already. It's kind of a lengthy process because we have to make sure that all of their paperwork and their personnel files, all of their personnel from their department have everything that is needed that the state requires, all the state requirements. So the way it looks is, the way it works for us is once we have the contract signed and it's established, we contact their point person from their department. We send them a list of requirements that we need for their personnel files, information that we need about their vehicles, and then we put all of those into our file, get back to them, tell them, hey, we're still missing X, Y, and Z from these people. The big point from my standpoint when we do this is that we want to make sure that we have everything, our foundation is good moving forward with these departments, because they become a part of our agency and the county agency, and we have to make sure that everything is squared away and try to limit any type of issues that might come if things aren't squared away from the foundation.
There were a couple of silly hiccups. We'd sent a contract and explained it was an electronic contract. Well, we don't do those. So we had to work through some of those things. Todd's over shaking his head, he knows all. So that was one of the little issues we had to deal with. But we're well into getting where we need to be and getting these executed, getting these onboarded, and
No, one of the first departments that we worked with, I think was Faulkner.
Correct.
Okay, that was way back months ago.
Year ago.
Yeah, probably, closer to a year ago. That didn't work out. We're not working with Faulkner at this time?
No, Falconer has chosen to do their own billing.
Okay.
They thought that was a better fit for them. It was a mutual agreed upon. They were our first agency that we did this with, and we really didn't have a
Process?
anything to go off
Okay.
of. You know, it was something new that we were trying. I'm thankful that it was Falconer because I'm sure a lot of you know Steve Vanstrom. I don't know, Mr. Nelson, have you ever met Steve Vanstrom? Yeah. He's a very intelligent guy, a good person, a good resource to use. And we identified a lot of things that needed improvement, and there were some issues that were identified as well that we were able to address better. So for them, they chose to have their own billing, and we are still housed there. I mean, we still have a good working relationship with them. Yeah.
But no billing agreement?
No
with
billing,
them.
correct. We will be having a paramedic intercept agreement with them because obviously we still provide paramedic and BLS level services for them when they cannot. So that has been sent to them for them to review. Just basically waiting on some more confirmation from them.
Okay.
Did they do their own billing, or did they go through a billing company?
They went through a billing company. They chose, I believe, MedX, which is out towards the Buffalo, Rochester area. I can't remember specifically where they're from, but
So what's the difference between them going through a billing company or any other department going through a billing company and, because I heard Sherman went through another billing company and they're getting payments.
Mhm. So between them going with their own billing company and us,
Right.
so basically the
The time wise, the time frame.
time frame, I think in some instances, places like Sherman, some departments were really quick with deciding what they wanted to do, and they were on top of it in a quicker manner than other departments were. A lot of people weren't sure what route they were going to go. You know, a lot of departments had a lot of questions.
And several still haven't made a decision.
Sure.
Yeah. So there are departments out there. I think Sinclairville was probably one of the first volunteer departments in our county to start billing. They've got some people that are quite on the ball with things in their department.
Billing through with us?
No,
On their own.
On their own?
They are their own entity, and
Okay.
they have their own billing company.
Yep.
Okay.
So, you know, it's like you said, there's, you know, as we've talked over the months of this whole thing, departments can essentially do one of three things. They can do nothing, and that's where you know, if they were to receive a paramedic intercept from us or another entity, another commercial service, that's where that $250 bill to the fire department would go. They can do the umbrella contract that we've got a few departments that Tim referenced. They can come on board with us, or they can do a paramedic intercept contract. Is really the three options that departments have. And that's, I think, you know, of our 42 departments, the majority, I think there's only a couple departments off the top of my head, from what I've been told, that just still haven't made a decision on what direction they're going yet.
But that's costing them money though, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't go to the county.
It's every department, and you know, unfortunately, there's some departments that just want to do their own thing, and they feel that maybe there's a county control they don't want to be part of. You know, I have heard that. Other departments, as Tim referenced, were really quick to make a decision. It's like, nope, this is the way we want to go it, and that's great too. So it's our position to help and assist the departments in whatever decision they make, trying to, you know, the number one thing has always been and always will be patient care. And get, you know, if we're going to help the departments whichever manner we can.
No, to build on Tom's question, it's my understanding that some of the departments that are doing their own billing or through a billing service, not under the county umbrella, are electing to not bill some of their patients. So, and they're also making elections not to collect the co-pays. So they're making billing decisions through their own billing service that would not be available through the county umbrella. That's my understanding anyway.
That is correct, yes, yes. You know, we already have our established billing practices, things like collections set forth by the legislator. And we can't change those based on each department, what they want. You know, we can't participate in selective billing.
So Tom, that's part of the reason.
Yeah.
I think Clymer does that, right?
I
Bill
don't,
some people and don't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Clymer's status is. Are they?
Yeah, they're billing and they've done that.
Selective in who they choose to bill.
I think it's co-pays that they are.
I don't
Something
I don't think you can choose to, you either have to bill everybody or nobody, is our understanding of the law.
It's. You
But
can
the
choose-
co-pays is where you can make a decision.
Okay.
There are some provisions in the law that says that for the volunteer departments that you cannot bill uninsured.
Right.
You cannot collect. So, you know, people, they can't do collections, they can't send people to collections, they can't collect co-pays.
So they still bill, but they just don't.
Some of them are, yeah, because it's hard.
It's a write-off or whatever.
It's, you know,
Correct.
when you go on a call, you don't know if somebody has insurance or not. You know, if somebody's in a terrible car accident or a terrible medical emergency, it really isn't a priority to figure out if somebody has insurance, right? So that's what they do on the back end. And some billing companies have taken the stance that they will just send out the bills, and if somebody doesn't have insurance, they can tell them, you know, if they fit into these categories where they're not supposed to be charged, they just won't collect it.
The one question though, I guess I was trying to get to is if they go to their own, if they go through the billing company, like Sherman did and Sinclairville did, and they're getting paid, what's the difference between the contracts? Because our holdup is contracts going back and forth is what?
Some of it, yeah. Are you talking contracts pertaining to contractual agreements with us at the county? Or
Right,
between them and their billing entity?
Between the fire departments that we're under, that we have contracts with or trying to get contracts with, there's some back and forth, as I understood from what you said at the beginning here. That there's some lag in that or some time frame.
So sometimes, try to answer your question if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I don't know if I
I
asked.
do have red hair and I went to Frewsburg.
That's a good thing.
So initially, some departments did not know which route they wanted to take. There was a lot of questions there. And then subsequently after that, when people decided, there's a lot of, you know, sending the contract to them to review. Each department, of course, has something that they wanted a little differently. Some departments wanted punctuation differently, you know, some people are really on the ball.
Unfortunately, the overall legal process took longer than we would have liked, you know,
From the county end,
both sides of it.
both sides.
Yeah, unfortunately, that, you know, and, you know, Todd can tell you that the county office is, with the contracts coming in, or it's a funnel, all of them come in, and I believe it's one person that's doing a lot of work, and that unfortunately created a backlog in time that we were on the other end of.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chairman, just to, there was some backlog in getting these. In part of the issue was that this was brand new and every attorney was seeing it for the first time. So we would propose a model contract, and there were so many different attorneys that all had their input, trying to reconcile that, trying to keep things consistent. Tim was great. We've sat down with him several times to break out the categories that we're working in, which may get to what Mr. Proctor was asking as well. The ALS, BLS intercepts versus the under our umbrella. the different categories that we've now worked out. So now that we have some templates and a system, and we've worked with most of the attorneys out there representing departments, I think it will grease the wheels going forward to make it more efficient.
Mr. Chairman, I have a two-part question.
Sure.
And it's very related, but how are we doing with the billing to the, for the intercepts that are not under contract or that are under contract? Are we up to date with our billing? And the second part of the question is, are we having any issues with departments not paying the bill?
A lot of the billing component of those departments with the, that you just asked about, excuse me, are kind of held up based on what type of contractual agreement they choose to do. So if a department chooses to come under our umbrella, there is some back billing that can be done, right? If we share charts and submit those. There's also, when the departments that we're doing paramedic intercept agreements with, there's an opportunity there to back bill for paramedic intercepts that we have gone on with them. So that's kind of part of this whole process. That some of that stuff is held up until the contracts are executed. But like I said, just within the last 4 weeks, we've had 14 of them executed. So the real work, I don't want to say the real work because this whole thing's been a bear, but the process moving forward now that we have those contracts in place is meeting with the billing company, which I do on a monthly basis. We have opened up a better line of communication with them, and there has been some improvement with our communication and reception and some conflict resolution with our increased communications. So going forward, I've been sending these contracts to the billing company because the billing company has a lot of these other agencies as well. So they're compiling a list of intercepts that we've done with those agencies. I'm going to reach out to them, and so are they, to get their charts to be able to pair them together, basically, to send the bill out. And then after that point, we will have a better idea of where we stand with anything that's outstanding for paramedic intercept work.
Tim, that's great information. Thank you. Really what I was asking about was the $250 bill when they're not under a billing service.
Right.
So are we up to date with sending out those bills?
I believe so.
We can check on that and get an accurate answer for you.
Okay. And then the second part of that question is, on those bills, are we getting any resistance to paying those?
I think we'd have to see what
From the
bills have gone.
departments.
I think we would have to see what bills have gone out to accurately answer that second part of that question, to see what's come in.
Okay.
I don't think we have an accurate answer for that yet. And I don't want to give any misinformation on that.
I know when we were beginning down this road and we negotiated or determined a fair fee of $250, we were still hearing on the street from departments saying, oh, we're not going to pay that. We're just not going to pay that.
And I'm sure that's some people's attitude. I'm sure that is. You know, if
It'd be nice to know where we stand, and if that was some bluster that has passed and they're now paying their bills, or if that is continuing, that they're not paying their bills. That's something I think that we'd like to know.
We will work to get that answer for you.
Great, thank you.
Pierre, by department, you would like to see that?
Yes, by department,
By
yes.
department, yeah.
okay.
Committee, other questions of the folks up there?
It just,
Is
so,
that gonna be ready by item control?
Tomorrow morning? That's a very optimistic request.
No.
Not unless you're paying for their overtime.
That's right.
Of the 13, 14 contracts that we have currently, have we paid out any of those? Have any departments gotten any revenues from us?
No, not yet.
What's
Because
the oldest contract out there? That's the concern I've heard, is that nobody's gotten any revenue yet, and other departments are. I guess.
Right. The departments that we have those contracts with the umbrella agreements, of those that are onboarded, we have not had any payments out yet, because once you put a claim in, you don't get payment immediately, you
Okay.
know? So it takes a while for payments for claims to start coming in. Because of these contracts that, the few that have been executed and are older, that still hasn't been enough time to get any payments in, right? So I expect that we should be getting some payments in to make payments out to them for the claims that were billed soon, but nothing as of yet.
So they could.
These other departments, like I said earlier, that are getting payments already are ones that have started a long time ago. Because remember, this law and this change happened in, I think July 7th of 2022. So these people jumped on the bandwagon and made the decision about what they were going to do individually at a very quick pace, right? So like Sherman. And if we're going to compare to Sherman, Sherman was quick in
Right.
what they chose to
I
do.
understand that.
So that's why they would be seeing more payments than other people.
But they went with an outside billing company, not with the
Correct.
county.
Correct.
Did they go with the same billing company that we use?
I'm not sure who they chose.
There's quite a few, once this law became known, and it was, there was a lot of billing companies that contacted departments, and, you know, they're all looking for the business. But
Yeah.
there's several, I think a couple of mainstays in western New York that we seem to be using more, get used. But there's a lot of billing companies across the country and state that are able to do this.
Okay, no, Tim mentioned medics. Who are we using?
They're professional ambulance billing out of
Professional?
Williamsville.
PAB?
Correct.
I think you mentioned that to me, Bonnie. Okay.
So some of our oldest contracts are, how old? A year?
Off the top, for the umbrella agreements,
Yeah.
no, I don't think we have any that are even close to a year.
No.
Okay.
Well,
No.
Faulkner was the first one.
Falconer,
That
Yeah.
was-
But
that
that's-
that was
That
last
wasn't
year.
quite even a year, though.
Right.
Everybody else
Because we
came
didn't
on after
decide
that.
on till October or something, and we could back bill to a certain date.
A
I don't
year.
remember. So the payments that these people that we have contracts, they will be getting
once they're
maybe a
onboarded,
big,
yes.
maybe a big check
So
from.
this week and next week, we've done what we call onboarding, where Tim and the other senior medics meet with those departments and say, hey, okay, here's the paperwork, this is how we do it, go over all those things Tim talked about, the file requirements. That's the onboarding process where that's, the start of the game, so to say.
Yeah,
Where-
because once a contract is executed, it does not immediately begin on the billing side and them becoming part of our agency. There's a lot of state and administrative back-end work that needs to be done to make them part of our agency. So that's where we.
Simply because they're going with us.
Mhm.
And that isn't the case when they go on their own?
It is not,
That's-
Um,
that's-
yeah.
okay.
And part of that.
Are they made aware of that when they do the contract? that-
Yeah,
that it's gonna take a while?
I've been quite
I mean,
open
Like,
about.
like, I think what Tim's talking about is we have to register that ambulance under our
Right.
agency. Where a department that's gonna be their own billing entity has already done that. Where, and part of our onboarding process is we have to have letters on their ambulance that say Chautauqua County EMS, we have to go do a physical inspection of it, take photos of it, do an online submittal, that goes to the state, and then we're, at that point, once they have to approve it, and then we have to wait for them to send us a sticker to put in that vehicle. So that's part of that back and forth process that there's some time frame with.
And about how long does that take? Does that take a month?
The last one did, I think.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be sooner, and it depends on,
We're at the mercy of the state, whoever receives that email and processing it. And I think,
Yeah.
there were some delays at the state that were way out of our control on the one that caused.
To register their vehicle?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's
part,
probably new to the state, which.
it is, yep.
We know
And-
the state doesn't handle new stuff very well either.
Well, they've been, I don't want to bash the state, the Bureau of EMS has been really helpful with us. And, they're an agency that's overtaxed and understaffed at times. And so, I can understand from their standpoint how things get a little behind sometimes. When we onboard an agency, my concern, like I said at the beginning of this, is we want to make sure that the foundation is set appropriately. We want to make sure that everything is set up correctly in the right way, so we start out on a good footing and we are set up for success. Once we have this, an agency under us and they're becoming part of us, there has to be, an inspection by the state of the vehicle. So we have to make sure that everything on their vehicle is up to the New York State public health law standards for ambulances and emergency services, ambulance, EMS services. And if we don't, that would open us up to problems and being held responsible for that, for them being our agency, part of our agency. There are a lot of rules and regulations that pertain to EMS agencies that a lot of departments struggle with because it's a lot to do on a voluntary basis. So sometimes we have to work with some people to bring them up to the standard, and that takes a little bit of work. But everyone has been, for the most part, very helpful and eager and willing to put in the work. It takes time.
But they're aware that it takes time, that's, I guess.
The people, and
I'm sure some people who are outside of the department aren't
exactly,
aware of that.
exactly. The people in the department, we talk with EMS agency leaders, they're EMS captains, the boots on the ground, the people that we're going to be dealing with on a daily basis. They're aware of it, and we talk quite regularly. But I guess, I can't control what people know and don't know beyond
I think
that.
to start, we were optimistic it would be a little faster, and then, the processes, as we learned the process and got more educated on it, the reality is it's a little slower than we'd like it to be, but it's moving along.
There were things that I learned from our agreement with Falconer and our starting with Falconer that I want to make sure that we don't repeat with another agency. So that's part of it too, just making sure that we have everything buttoned up
Okay.
so we have a good foundation.
I just wonder what Bonnie thought about all this.
Yeah, what does Bonnie think?
Well-
Bonnie thinks a lot. Bonnie thinks a lot.
So, on the fiscal side of it, when the reports come to us the collection reports come to us from our billing agent, those all go to Tim, and then he breaks it down and he said, this is due to this agency, right? So he then gets me that report, then I have to go through it and do my fiscal responsibility, check making sure that 1 + 1 = 2, etc. Then submit it. And of course, once then it's submitted, we still are at only payments going out on Thursday. So even by the time I get it, Tim reviews it, I get it back, I get it in for payment, even that in itself can be 3 or 4 weeks, depending on the time frame of when it comes in and when that next Thursday payment is due. And, that is something that we have to take into consideration too, because by the time the billing agent submits it, it actually gets paid, we find out about it, we can get the money to go back out again, it is, you know, it's definitely weeks, if not a month.
But we haven't made any payments yet, right?
To Falconer.
To Faulkner.
Oh, to Faulkner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
based off what we've done to Faulkner.
Oh, okay.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, committee, any other questions of the folks up here? Tim, I do have a question, and this just came up on Monday. I was talking to a firefighter from Casadega.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now he, again, he claims that they signed a contract with us about 6 months ago, and they have not received any payments. What, do you think it was that long? And no, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, or
Maybe
Okay.
3 or 4 months ago.
okay,
You know, at one point, there were some contracts that they wanted to see the contract. So we gave them a sample contract. This is what it is.
Casadega.
It-
Or
I
whoever.
believe
Okay.
Casadega was
Okay.
one of them. So when we gave them, it was a sample. Well, they reviewed it as the sample and signed off on it and thinking it was good to go.
Okay.
And we were like, no, that's just a sample, and that's what we said when we gave it to you.
Okay.
And I do believe that Casadega was one of them.
Okay.
I don't know it for positive without reviewing notes, but I do believe that they were one of
So
them.
that set us back.
It set us back again. So for them, you know, they're like, yeah, we signed it. But once we got it back and I said, no, that, you know, that was just so you could review, you know, what one looks like, right?
Okay.
So then when we got them the original one, I'm not 100% sure if they had changes to it either, although I do think they did. But again, I can't without my notes. So I believe that 6 months is,
That's too long. It was
is
less than
longer.
that.
Yes.
Okay, guys, and you don't have to go into any detail, but could you kind of walk us through this process, just the highlights? Okay, so let's say Casadega has a call, okay, BLS or ALS, they go to the call,
Mm-hmm.
they come back to the fire hall, okay, then they fill out the report, electronic report, I guess?
Correct.
Okay.
An electronic PCR.
Okay, electronic PCR. And then it comes to the county.
Yep.
Okay,
So-
it comes to you, Tim, or?
Yep.
Oh, it comes to you.
to-
Okay, then what happens?
So,
You review it.
yeah, we review the chart, we make sure that there is not only the adequate billing paperwork with it,
Okay.
signature form, face sheet from the hospital, patient demographics.
All the documentation.
Correct. And then we review it, we go through and we review quarterly certain subjects for quality improvement and quality assurance. So we review medical care that was provided to the patient, make sure that the care was provided within the guidelines of our protocols for patient care. But the immediate thing, we review the chart, look for anything that is outstanding, that is abnormal, make sure that the billing paperwork is correct. We then advance it to the next level, which sends it to the billing company to begin processing the claim. That happens continually, on a continuous basis. I do that sometimes at 2 in the morning when I can't sleep. Which,
I'd take,
Several a day.
of those, multiples. Every single call that we go on, that is how that process works.
okay, and then it's, from you, it's sent on to the billing company.
Correct, to generate a claim.
Okay,
They generate the claim, to, send that to the insurance provider, and then it's at the mercy of
the
payment.
private insurance company, Medicaid, Medicare,
Medicare.
wherever.
Yep.
Okay, for payment.
Mhm.
All right. Tim, things do seem to be a little slow, I think. Okay, is there anything that this committee can do to help you Is there any bottlenecks that you can see that we should be aware of and maybe try to take care of?
I think Todd had talked about it earlier. I think a bottleneck that we experienced was with this process being so new. With the contracts, I think the bottlenecks and the contractual side, we've worked out. Like he said, sat down with him and his department and got things a little more streamlined, better understanding of what was expected on both parts. And I think that was part of it. I don't know of anything off the top of my head, unfortunately, that you guys could do to assist with that, other than potentially making a day longer.
No, I can't. Okay, so Tim, so the legal template, I guess that we now have is you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And this is workable with the attorneys for the various
Yes.
fire departments?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's no more give and take as far as the local fire departments, as far as the
No.
legal requirements of the contract?
Correct.
No more custom,
All right.
no more custom agreements.
Yeah, it's pretty well ironed
Standard?
out. Yeah.
Okay.
So anybody
Alright.
that's been with us for a while, payments will hopefully start to flow and.
And these
back-
departments-
Back as far as the date of their contract,
Correct. Yes.
so they could see a big check first,
Potentially.
potentially,
Yeah. Depending on what's paid.
by the insurance companies and, yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely, yeah.
Potentially.
Okay, committee, anything else? Folks, we are starting to get questions on the payments to the individual fire departments. I think all of us have received questions on that, so it's pretty important that we get these payments to the departments as quickly as we can. And look, new program, it's gonna be a learning curve, we understand that, but do keep us posted on this because it's important to these local fire departments.
Absolutely. It's important to us too. We
I understand,
have to
Tim.
work with them still.
Really, it's keeping you up at night.
There's a lot that does.
Take a sleeping pill. Okay. Committee,
drugs.
anything else for the folks? If not, nice job, guys. Thank you. We appreciate it.
If I could just have one minute of your time real quick.
Sure.
I just wanted to give you an update. So this week we had our second, all I talked about lately seems to be the upcoming eclipse. And I just, we had our second very productive meeting. Pierre was there. We had 18 people there. I'm very confident where we're at, that we're heading in the right direction. Under Sheriff Telford has been a great help in preparing some of our law enforcement responses. And in comparison to some of other counties, it seems like we're ahead of the curve. So I just wanted just to share, we are very actively looking at the stuff. Dr. Falk in his office with the health department, Justin Gould working with us on the media aspect of it. You're gonna be hearing and seeing a lot more from our office, the county executive's office, the health department, just getting that message out there. It's going to be a monumental event, but I just want to let you know from a public safety standpoint that, we do have a very active committee that is trying to be on top of this once in a lifetime event for us.
I saw last week, there was a partial eclipse.
Yeah, it was out west.
Out west, and Weather Channel was all over it.
It was a partial eclipse that
Just
generated
partial.
a huge influx of people, and we're having a total eclipse,
eclipse.
which is going to be much more monumental than that.
But it's just in Finley Lake, the total eclipse.
Yeah, it's in 29 counties of New York State.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So, but I just wanted, just a brief, like I said, we were gonna be meeting every 2 months, our committee, and more as needed, but just from a public safety standpoint, we are working diligently to make sure that we're trying to figure out all those nuances and what we need to do.
Okay. Goodbye.
Yes, can I please ask Tim Carlson if he will give us a quick update on how transport has been going the We are fully staffed now.
Okay,
Yeah.
please.
And we would love to end on this Uber. Yes,
So
we're
we-
doing
we-
awesome.
We have our interfacility transfer ambulance in service up here in the lovely Mayville area at our office.
37? as of today?
37 transfers since we have put that in service. We're averaging a little over one a day, closer to some days. We do not have enough staffing, enough ambulance, right, to cover the requests that we have. That unit has been very busy. It's been helping out to alleviate some of the bottlenecks at the Westfield Hospital when we are bringing in 911 call patients. It's been a busy unit.
It's working.
The staff has been great. They're very eager to help out, and I am happy with it.
So,
Yeah.
Tim, we're close to 2 transports a day?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, there's been a couple of days where we've done 3, and then I know the very first day we put it into service, they did 3, and they're like, we got more, like we're done.
Yeah, we don't have
For
enough
the day.
time.
You know, so it's a good program, and it's working as we thought.
So you're telling us we can up your revenue even more than we did in the budget
Wait,
hearings?
I forgot. Somebody, nobody told me that you guys
I look
increased
forward to that conversation next year.
It hasn't technically happened until next week, Bon, but I think it will.
I look forward to that process next year to show you the numbers. If they're trending like they are now, it's gonna be a very pleasant conversation.
Very good.
One other thing, if I may, there are some changes coming pertaining to regulations and rules and requirements for EMS agencies that will affect all EMS agencies in New York State. They will affect volunteer fire departments as well. That is something that I think we all should talk about in depth at a later time. But it is going to potentially change how EMS is handled in New York State drastically. Call metrics, requirements, things that we never had prior to this legislation that was passed in the budget, the state budget.
There's what they call it, the white paper and that's out on public, and we will tomorrow email that to your county emails so you can see this document that exists currently.
Just food for thought in the future. We will probably have to have conversations about how we fit into these new requirements, and it will put more responsibility on the county.
Okay, all right.
Not necessarily a bad
Ending
thing.
on a
It's
No,
just- it's just
no.
new things.
Okay.
We're ending on a high note.
Noel,
Did you not hear
Bonnie,
me say that?
Tim.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job. Bonnie, I'll see you.
No, you can't have it.
Just 1 second. Committee, anything to come up under other? Anything under other?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We're adjourned. Thank you, committee.
Yeah.
You're gonna talk about maybe